everybody. Welcome to UGA Sports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Dayne Young, our executive producer, and Jim Donnan, the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, the number one reason everybody's tuning in, and the best expert when it comes to quarterbacks you will ever meet. He will tell you the quarterback is the most important guy on the field, but of course he played quarterback, so he's a little biased there.
He also played punter. He might say
he was a punter too, and he always talks about special teams. We got this guy. But Coach Donnan, I'm so glad to have him on today, mainly because Georgia received some huge news last night. And I know a lot of people will think it's maybe redundant in that five-star quarterback Jared Curtis had already committed to Georgia once before, then he decommitted and then recommitted last night. And you can think of it like a recommitment, but I think of it as a new commitment, because he did say, hey, I want to be uncommitted while I go visit Oregon and Auburn and a bunch of other schools. I think he did it the right way. But last night he chose between Georgia and Oregon, didn't know exactly where he was going. Everybody kept asking us, where's he going? Where's he going? Where's he going? We're like, we don't know, because the kid didn't know. Friday, he said he had an inkling. Sunday, he let his family know. Monday was the big reveal. So he didn't know until like maybe 48 hours ago for certain, or at least didn't tell his parents. Jed May went up there and covered this. We had the live on Twitter, Jed covering it, showing everybody how he picked it. So we were on the edge of our seats just like everybody else was. But what does this mean for Georgia? This is not the first time Georgia's gotten a five-star quarterback. They've gotten plenty of them throughout the years. But we want to ask the quarterback expert, Jim Donnan, to get his take on it. So, Coach, what do you think about Georgia landing Jared Curtis?
Well, it's huge for Mike, for Kirby, for all the fans, for everybody, because this guy's got a generational arm. I mean, the rest of the stuff's going to have to be put together, but you actually saw him throw live one time like I have. And I'm just telling you, this guy has that kind of arm that God doesn't give many people. And so we're just going to have to see how it all plays out for sure. And it's, the naysayers and all say, well, what's going to happen to the guys on the team and who we're going to lose and all that. You can't get into all that. I mean, you just got to be super impressed that we were able to get him on the second go around. A lot of times when a guy decommits, then the situation unfurls that he finds somebody else that he wants to play for. And in this case, I think it even helps our situation even more, because it solidifies the fact that, you go out to look for a car, you think you got the one you want, but you go test drive a couple more just to be sure. Then you come back and you get behind that wheel and you can't wait to put the gas on, man. You can't wait to just drive it out of the showroom. And I really felt that energy from Jared yesterday. He didn't knick-knack around and about thanking everybody in the history of the world and going through a great production. I mean, he couldn't wait to get that shirt out and let everybody see. So whether he knew Friday or Saturday, everybody's got to say, well, he didn't know. Who knows when he knew? But I just want to give out a few pundits here. First of all, I told Roddy and Dayne about the time I was over at Jay Christopher's eating breakfast, and Jared and his mom and dad, and I'm not sure who else was with them, but Coach Bobo and Coach Gummy were there. And, of course, Mike introduced me as his ex-coach, and we had a little bit of talk there. And it was pretty obvious during the when I was over to the side eating, watching, and I was trying to get some little idea about things. And the interaction that his mother had with Coach Bobo, you can't make that up. It was pretty obvious to me, damn obvious, that she really had a good feeling for Coach Bobo. Well, the next time I went over there and saw him, he was just with his mother and Coach Bobo. And, he introduced, they remembered me, I guess. I don't know if they did or not, but I threw out the thing, hey, why don't you reclassify? I said, well, hey, we can take you in here in the class of 25 and come on in. And he kind of laughed at it. And his mother really kind of looked at me like, well, that would be good, but my point is you always got to sell the mama and you got to sell everybody else and you got to sell the kid. And now you got the agents involved. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out here that the people on here, I would hope are pretty objectionable. Some of the people on I don't read it much, but occasionally you'll point it out, are on the Mike Bobo down train. And the only thing I'll say, he has a lot better name nationally and with the players than he does with our people. Because this boy wanted to get developed. He wanted to have a coach that could take him and have Matt Stafford call him up and say, look, this guy made me better. I was a number 1 draft choice with him coaching me. I didn't get to play as much as I hoped I would. It didn't work out, whatever he said. But this guy can develop you. And I know that because I've coached Mike. I've seen him coach on the field. He's a real technician, and he'll make this guy as better as, and I think nothing against Oregon but this guy, Willie Stein out there, the offensive coordinator, he doesn't have near the resume that Mike has for producing quarterbacks. And I know the parents felt like that. I know that for a fact. So you had the fact that the parents are sold, that Mike's got that kind of deal, and then the supporting cast that we have around him. Because every quarterback's looking for how's your O-line, how's your receivers, how's your backs, how's your defense? Because you don't want to be on a team that just has to score everything and and never gets any help. So I think this is a monumental signing, a commitment for Georgia. I don't even want to use the think. I know it is. I'm really happy for Kirby to be able to do this within the framework of NIL and all the other stuff that's involved, dealing with an agent. It's just a different ball game now. So that's my monologue here. I'm giving you a Hannity monologue here. I'm giving you all this stuff. Or if you can go to another site so I don't offend any liberals. It's just the fact that yesterday was a good day for Georgia because this kid wants to be the quarterback. And, yesterday I went out and to the David Pollock's golf tournament. And David, what a tremendous job he's doing for our community, the way he shares his foundation and helps people out. And all the people that were there, there's a lot of love there for among everybody. But to see some of the guys that I coached and see what they've done, and I'm not going to get into that, but I'm going to point out David Green. David Green came here and wanted to be the captain of the team. He wanted to be the guy to lead Georgia back, and he did that with DJ. And I think I see that same kind of semblance here of not that Jared's got to bring us back, but I think just keep us on top. And we certainly got some good guys in the interim here with the quarterbacks we have. So that's a long opening here, but anybody wants to find anything wrong with this, then you probably need to go get another team support. I mean, seriously, you got to be pretty negative to find something wrong with this signing.
Yeah, I think the only negative comments I heard was, the one person was like, why would he come and play for Mike Bobo? I'm like, you don't understand as you point out, Coach, people who are in the industry know what a great quarterback he is. I mean, you look at Jake Fromm, and you look at these Aaron Murray. I remember the Aaron Murray plantation, the whole thing, him and Orson Charles, that everybody was tuned in. We set records for our coverage of the Aaron Murray thing. What did he and his mother both say? We want to play for Mike Bobo. And again, on the way this thing went down, everybody kept asking, where's he going? Which one's he going to pick? And we kept saying, we don't know, but we like Georgia's chances for two things. One,
well, you knew because I told you, but you wouldn't tell anybody.
We knew that.
I didn't know either, but I'm just going. I didn't know, but I know what that mama looked like.
That's what I'm saying. We told people the only reason we were optimistic Because again, if it was a 50-50 coin flip and the kid doesn't know, there's no point in trying to get people's hopes up. And we also know they're going up against a huge NIL, a blank check at Oregon. Not to say that money is the determining factor in this situation. It's not, but it doesn't hurt if you can go someplace and make a lot of money. So my point was, when I would tell people, and Jed said this all the time, why does Georgia stand a good chance? He'd been committed there before. His mama likes the University of Georgia, and they both like Mike Bobo. And will that be enough? We didn't know until 5:31 yesterday. And Coach, this is my favorite commitment of all time. A prayer, an announcement, and then questions. I was like, this is fantastic. And
it started on time too, but I like that part. It wasn't like they had to get everything set up and get everything, and then
I was a little behind on my announcement.
Microphones didn't work and all that stuff, but yeah, I mean, but
that was good.
I would dispel this other thing too. And if you don't take anything else from today, from this podcast, anybody that thinks that Georgia's not competitive NIL wise, how in the world do you think we're getting these players? I mean, maybe they do have a blank check, but I promise you, we didn't get this guy for peanuts. I mean, we're very competitive. We got the horses. We got the athletic director that's got a lot of knowledge of how to use the system. We got a president's behind it, and we got a coach that is relentless. I'm not talking about 20 hours a day. I'm talking about 24 hours a day pounding it. And all you got to do is spend an hour with him, which none of you get to, but occasionally I do when I go watch him, one of his kids play or something like that. And he got so many things going at one time that I don't know how he does it, but wants to know who's, like, if you're going out on the road, who are you seeing today? Want to see all the 5 or 6 kids, everyone. And then he got a list of them and checking them off. How'd he look? What'd he do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good at keeping up with things, but I don't know how in the world he does. I mean, it's unreal.
Well, Coach, you said earlier in this that Jared Curtis has generational arm talent. And I've done shows with you for 5 or 6 years now, and Georgia has gotten some good quarterback recruits in that time. I don't know that I've heard you describe any of those previous ones that way. Is this that much different in terms of a prospect? And I don't want to put the expectations on the kid because he still has to come in and do it. But in terms of raw tools that you're working with, is this that different?
I mean, certainly Eason had that kind of arm, no question about it. I mean, you just don't have the velocity like this very often. But I hadn't seen anybody with anybody around here except Stafford, maybe Eason, but this guy's got, one of the things that coach from another school that we were talking about prospects, and I just asked him what he thought of that Curtis kid up in Nashville. He said, I haven't seen an arm like him since John Elway. Now, that was a guy that I really respect. Ooh. Now, don't put it out that Jim Donnan said that, because I didn't see John Elway throw that much, but I did have Troy Aikman. And this guy's got that kind of arm. I mean, no question.
How do you maximize that, Coach? I mean, I remember when Stafford got here, he had so much heat on some of those passes. And there were guys talking about, he's hard to catch, and he'll break your fingers. And
I'm gonna have to apologize. I'm having a little trouble with the lights here, so I'm going Hollywood here. This is in honor of Jared, just to show you what a big timer he is. But you maximize it by supporting cats, but guys can adjust to catching the hard ball. I mean, you can. Of course, our guys couldn't catch the medium last year, but so we'll. I guess
so blooded. Damn,
not a good answer, but anyhow. But I think we maybe have some questions on this guy, or what? What do we want to do?
There's a lot of questions about what will the Jared Curtis effect be on recruiting, and I want to bring up one guy, a 6'8", 320-pound offensive tackle, and it is. I would be hard pressed to go back through all the rivals rankings and see how often we put an offensive lineman at the number 1 spot in the national rankings, but that's who we have in Jackson Cantwell. He's the number one player in the nation. He was going to commit much earlier. Then he moved his commitment date back and added a extra trip to the University of Georgia. He's going to be in town this weekend. Guess who's coming down to hang out with him? Jared Curtis, who recently
Good job, Jared.
So
I think that speaks good. But what happens is, all of a sudden this Bowman kid, tight end out in California, he looks at, hey, Georgia's got a great tradition. Brock Bowers, all these guys, but who's going to get me the ball? And I'm telling you that it's a tremendous advantage to have a guy like that on your roster coming in. I know we got Hartley on him, and I feel good about Bowman too. I feel good about Cantwell. But who knows? But
it would kind of blow my mind if they were to get Jackson Cantwell. And Dayne, you're talking about that kind of generational arm that you have at Jared Curtis. The way people talk about and drool over Jackson Cantwell is something I haven't seen in a long time. I guess since maybe Andrew Thomas, or Broderick Jones. It feels like a kind of a can't miss guy. And I hate to say that because we've covered a lot of these guys that everyone thinks is,
you got the tools, that's for sure.
Yeah. But
one aspect of all this that I don't think was properly discussed was just how stability has helped Georgia, where Ohio State wins the national championship last year. Chip Kelly's off to the NFL right now. Michigan, staff turnover from 2 years ago. Georgia returns all of its assistant coaches. So these recruits, even in this NIL era where everyone transfers, Georgia has more stability right now than most places. And it seems like that probably helps with a guy like Curtis.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Let's just call it like it is. We were in the mix for Caleb Williams. We were in there tight because Coley was in with him. He had a bond with him. And once Coley went to Texas A&M, he dropped us like a hot potato. So, we wouldn't have had any chance, I don't think, if losing Gummy and Bo. If we lost Gummy and Bobo, everything you had built up, you got to start over, and that's a hard thing to catch up with, starting over like that. So that's a great point.
If you can land Bowman, I will say this: the way people talk about Jared Curtis as a QB and Cantwell as an offensive lineman, they do the same thing about Bowman. I've had coaches say and again, I went on a rail yesterday, Coach, about how every time you have a running back commit, everyone compares him to the next Herschel Walker. Every time you have a quarterback commit, they always –
it's not fair to compare.
It's not. And they do the same thing with Matt Stafford. Like, oh, he's the next Matt Stafford. I'm like, that's not fair either. Come on. Now Brock Bowers is the baseline. He's the ultimate comparison. I've had coaches, though, say this guy in high school, Bowman, looks like the same level that Brock Bowers was at. And Todd Hartley is just drooling. If he's thinking I can get him and Jackson Campbell on the same side and Ryan Puglisi or Jared Curtis in the background, in the backfield throwing the ball, it's going to feel weird because Georgia just had three defensive players gone in the first round, but all of a sudden you could put together a crazy offensive recruiting class, Coach. This could be legendary.
For sure.
The other pieces of this is just kind of some of the disappointments that Georgia has felt in some of the quarterback recruiting. And I'm not saying Georgia hasn't had good talent, because it has. But when you see Trevor Lawrence grow up in your state and go to Clemson, when you see Deshaun Watson grow up in your state, go to Clemson, when you have Arch Manning, you court him as long as you did. When you have Raiola, you court him as long as you did. This is kind of like the meme from The Office. It's just nice to win one. And I think that's probably where Georgia is at quarterbacks now. And maybe Curtis is going to be right along with that crew, maybe better than a couple of the others. But there's a piece of the history of that I think fans feel a bit more at ease, because you've gotten these announcements before, Roddy, where Georgia's been right there in the final 2 or 3, and then it just doesn't work out for whatever reason.
Well, on the Raiola thing, it was a two-way street. You can't come in here, start making demands to Kirby Smart that he doesn't want to look at. Certainly, if we'd have done some of those things, he probably would have come on here. But another addition for us that's kind of in the background that nobody really brings into is Brandon Streeter, who was the guy that recruited the guys at Clemson, is here. he helps Coach Bobo. So that's another plus as far as the training for all our quarterbacks.
Yeah, didn't he land Trevor Lawrence?
He got Lawrence, and he helped with Watson, but Watson just got over there early, and it's hard to catch up on. But
I'm just saying, if you can say, look, your offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, had a number one pick, and his assistant coach also had a number one pick. They're two of the best guys. You remind us of them. Yeah, it was it was not a slam dunk by any means, but to your point, the development aspect of it outweighed the NIL. The Curtis family ain't poor. He'll get paid what he's worth, but it was definitely a development issue, and it's a lot easier to get to Athens than it is Eugene.
I would say there's no way this kid would have come here if we weren't even close to what they were offering. Why would you? I mean,
that'd be stupid. Yeah.
At this point, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. You don't know if you're going to get hurt pro wise and everything else, but all those other factors enter into it too. But and early, a couple of the first years of NIL, we lost some in-state players because of that, because of money that we weren't going to pay the more than what our players were making. But now that we got a real feel for it, we know how to. Not we, but our staff knows how to manipulate the numbers, and that's why sometimes you lose a guy to transfer, because you got to look at what's best for your overall team. And the same thing happens with San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they're trying to keep Brock Purdy, who's going to sign a big contract, but look at some of the guys they're losing. Unreal. I mean,
Coach, two questions. When you get a recruit like this, you've been in rooms like this before and gotten the big recruit to commit. What does it do for the morale of your staff?
Oh, it's tremendous. I guarantee you. And everybody just it just reinforces what you feel like your mission is, and the fact that you got people continue to believe in you and entrust their son to you, and kid wants to play for you. I mean, it's a great feeling of just that you're on the right path. I mean, it's nothing like a victory. I mean, that's a big victory when you get a good recruit.
Well, and then the other, and I see people talk about this, and sometimes it's fair. Jared Curtis doesn't play against top-notch competition in the state of Tennessee. Neither did Herschel Walker. But as a coach, did you ever look at that level of competition and try to assess, or how's that going to translate to what we do and what he's capable of?
Yeah, I mean, you got to certainly look, particularly maybe at a lineman on the competition he's playing against, but a quarterback. I mean, you work him out, you see him throw, you do all that beside, and it's not his fault, but those fast cars those good cars can drive on the back roads and the super highways. You know what I mean? Pretty bad saying about fast cars on this show. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry. But realistically, he definitely it's something you got to look at role wise. It is a lesser league, but he's dominant. I mean, he's a dominant player.
Jackson Cantwell's not exactly going up against the toughest of the tough, but when he rolls over a 5'11", 250-pound defensive end and just takes him 15 yards and plants him in the dirt like a Zinni or something like that. Well, that's what he's supposed to do. And we've seen those guys in camps, and they're going up against the best of the best, and they stand head and shoulders taller and outthrow them. So
you got to use your feet too, get your sets and all, but you can't beat leverage as offensive lineman. It's just hard to got to lean on you like that. It's hard to get away from them.
We're talking about the best of the best. Let's mention our friends real quick at Athens Ford, because they are the best of the best. There's no question in my mind. I've bought vehicles from them multiple times and been ecstatic with doing it. And I don't go in and go, hey, remember me? I'm the guy you sponsor our show. I will go talk to the folks in the dealership, get the best deal. They take fantastic care of me. And then after I bought the car, I go upstairs and talk to the Ryan Clark and go, hey, just bought another vehicle from you, and he's always incredibly kind. Right now, I'm thinking about trading in one of my Ford Explorer because I want to get on this employee pricing deal. The pay what we pay deals, employee pricing on the full line of trucks and SUVs. I can go ahead and get a new Explorer. I can get a Bronco, get a Ford F-150, any of the trucks and SUVs, and get the employee price as if I actually worked in the manufacturing office, the big place where the manufacturing line. I could be there and get the same deal those guys get. This is going away. I told us right at the first part of June, it'll be gone. So you do not have months and months to do this. So jump on the Ford employee pricing now. You will be very glad you did so. And if you don't have enough money to go buy one, then maybe you're in the wrong job. I know a guy who can help you with that. His name is Andy Ludecki. He works at myperfectfranchise.net. He started the company. He left corporate America about 12 years ago to pursue his own dreams of personal and financial freedom. So he's like, hey, I want to start my own thing. And he started Synergy Home Care. And then he created the Big Red Dumpster Company, the Big Red Redheads, Porta Potties, and the Big Red Gutter Company. The guy's doing well. And he did well enough that he realized I can help other people do this. And he has helped a lot of people at UGA Sports. You don't have to be a member of UGA Sports to reach out to him. You can just be anybody who's watching our Facebook or our Twitter. Reach out to Andy Ludecki at myperfectfranchise.net and he'll get you squared away. So hit him up when you get a chance.
I do want to acknowledge that it's graduation week on campus. You'll probably hear bus background noise because just to get the vibes of it, I wanted to sit right off of Sanford Drive here outside of Grady College. I'm looking at Sanford Stadium. And I've seen a lot of families and a lot of students that are celebrating a really big accomplishment because University of Georgia is really hard to get into these days. And so if you get out of there with a degree, it's something that, it helps your career for a lifetime, but just the memories that you make during weeks like this. And that's going to be a lot of the case for Georgia athletes as well. So if anyone's coming into Athens, the weather could not be better. But I hope you enjoy the memories that you're making with this graduation because it's a big, big deal.
Yeah,
congratulations.
And as I have a bus,
degree, isn't he?
Who's that now?
I think he's supposed to be finishing up.
So I love it.
I'll get the questions from UGAsports.com as the Central Loop bus comes by. So I apologize for that beeping. That's what campus sounds like these days. Coach, back to Buckhead Dog wants to know, is there a former Georgia quarterback or another college quarterback that you would compare to Jared Curtis? I know you had not seen him throw in person, but maybe from just watching him on tape, is there something that you can say he does this like another quarterback?
Not really. He's got a lot of different skills that maybe others don't, but hard to say that there's somebody that, in particular from my standpoint, because I really haven't seen enough of him to make that comparison, but I do know about his arm. That's for sure.
This question from J.M. Wright, 1417. With the House decision now out, do you think there's a little more calmness, or are things going to stay escalated or hectic with college coaches in regard to recruiting? It seems like the demands of recruiting and the uphill battle for money to field a team has really taken a toll in the last few years.
Yeah, it has. But, where are you going to get a job like a college coach has got? You got to put up with the strengths and the weaknesses of any situation, but these guys are getting paid some pretty good bucks here. And so are the auxiliary people involved. So you just got to adjust and realize that go with the flow. And the coaches that continue to do that are the ones that are maintaining and staying on top. It's going to be interesting to see to what extent Dabo can keep the train rolling over there at Clemson. They had a in-between year a couple times, and then last year they ended up getting back in the championship. But, I don't think you can make a living as a full-time coach anymore without getting involved with the portal. I just don't think you can do it.
Yeah, and I pointed out last week, I'd like to remind the folks again, when Kirby Smart was in Charlotte last week, he said that they didn't feel like they lost anybody in the portal that they really couldn't live without. But look at who he added. Again, I know we like to get frustrated about the portal. We get frustrated about NIL, and we complained about, guys going to play for money and being mercenaries. But if you look on the 10 guys Kirby Smart added versus the ones he lost, getting Noah Thompson, getting Zachariah Branch, getting Harris, and you needed safeties. You went out and got like 3 of them. If you're going to do anything that involves, as long as it involves a roster and it involves the same an even playing field, if you will, and I think that's hopefully what we'll get closer to with the house settlement. I'm going to put my money on Kirby Paul Smart just because that guy is a roster management genius. That's how he learned it in Alabama. They won with the best roster. He came to Georgia, had the best roster. We saw that last week when 13 guys got drafted off that team. He's going to have the best talent. He just signed or just got a commitment from one of the biggest quarterback, in the 26 class, and may get the best offensive lineman, best tight end, best defensive end. Just if it's going to be a roster management issue, bet on Kirby.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing about the people that get frustrated with the NIL. Unless you're in a family business that's been around forever, I can't think of many people on this program that if they were offered an opportunity at a much higher salary, wouldn't take it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going on 3 right now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Just merged. I'm going over there. They got a lot more money.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying about people getting it's not the good old days. You're not walking 3 miles to school or catching a bus or all. I mean, it's just the way it is, and we can harp on it. But I didn't like it when it first started, but I've grown to understand it better. And hey, we got to do what we got to do.
Well, not only that, I mean, you're at the University of Georgia. It's got pockets. It may not have as much as Texas, but it's not like you are at Presbyterian. You're not at a Middle Tennessee State, and not to crap on those schools, but I mean, Georgia's got money, and the fan base will pony up. And I like the fact that you could now have you could have Jared Curtis promoting your T-shirt company or your Zaxby's or whatever. I think it's look, these kids are heroes when they are in college, and we're so used to having testimonials by celebrities. I've got no problem with it. Now, I don't like to pay to play, and hopefully the house settlement stops that whole thing. It's like, look, it's not just going to come down to it. But again, if the rules are even closely enforced and similar, Kirby Smart's going to win, and the players are going to win. And if you sign some guys who can't make it, they'll leave, and you'll be able to attract players to Georgia who are very good from other schools, just like Noah Thompson was Texas A&M's number 1 wide receiver last year. Look at Trevor Etienne leaving Florida. He would have been their top back. He did wonders for you. So got to think about who you're getting, not who you're losing.
This question from Eddie from Ackworth. Coach, is there a tightrope that coaches have to walk, knowing that when you land a kid like Jared Curtis, that could cause some attrition of people transferring out? Or does that not even weigh into the decisions?
Good question.
No, you can't look at it like that. That's a good question from Eddie, but you can't look at it like that just because everybody that comes here, Kirby sells them on competition, and we see that among a lot of players where you get youthful guys at a position where you have people. So and a lot of times people don't pan out. I mean, Puglitsky put a lot of manpower and time and effort here, and for him to just, for instance, say, well, this guy's coming, I'm going to transfer, and then let's say this guy ends up not turning out to be who he's supposed to be. That's not the way you do things, and we haven't had that. The really good players aren't going to run from competition, and that's what happens. But usually speaking, like a guy like Fields, he tried it and things didn't work out, but he wanted to come to Georgia, so he looked at it and then he left. But I think that's the way you got to do it.
I think with Ryan Puglisi, you look at the fact that he had Dylan Raiola committed in the same class, and we asked him multiple times, what do you think about going up against the number 1 quarterback in the nation? And he said, well, if I want to be an NFL quarterback, I'm going to have to compete for it. There's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Am I one of the best 32 in the nation? If I can't do it at Georgia, I damn sure can't do it in the NFL. So.
This question from Bulldog Ben. Coach, did you have any pregame rituals? I had an offensive line coach in high school that would take a nap on the washer in the equipment room.
What he wanted to get spinned. That's one of the best ones I've ever heard. The guy wasn't worried about 3rd and 6 too much. That's for sure. You know, I had a certain ritual as far as going out during warm-ups and then at the end going and standing right on the edge of the goal line and watching our team run plays against the defense and just trying to get a feel for what I was going to say to the team. You know, I had a good feel for that initially, but if I didn't like the way they're warming up, I might light into them a little bit. But if things look good, I was going to say how we were prepared and ready to go. But that's pretty much a ritual for me.
No lucky socks?
No, but I've always put on my left shoe before my right. I mean, I've done that since I was a baby. But and the other rituals, my wife would make chocolate chip cookies for me before we left. So I try not to take too many of them, but I always like to have those in the room just in case I got a little nervous.
I love it.
From Trey 594, what are the reasons for optimism for Georgia's offensive line play in 2025?
I just think supporting cast, better receivers, going to not have to, every play is not going to be life or death as far as making first downs because we're going to be a little more efficient offensively, make more big plays, and keep the defense on the loose a little bit more as far as knowing what we're doing. So, and we got some talent there. We got some, maybe not quite as much experience, but they're going against a good defense every day, so they're going to have to keep working to improve. But I visualize our offense being very functional this year.
And a more mobile quarterback that probably helps a little bit to give the offensive line a break.
Get you out of bad plays, yeah.
We're going to break early here real quick because Coach Dayne, you talked about the graduation going on and how big a deal that is. Also, Athens is hosting the SEC softball tournament, and you've got 6 of the top 8 teams in the nation descending on Athens, and there's going to be some fantastic softball. You need to get out and watch them. Shout out to the baseball team for being ranked number 1 in 2 of the top polls after their sweep of Missouri last week. So baseball and softball.
Women's tennis, number 1, in this round of 16. And
they're always number 1.
But I'm going to go watch the Dogs softball and hope they keep rolling. They didn't have as quite a good a year, but the competition's up. And then Sooners is coming to town too. I'm probably going to check them out. Got to watch them. I hope they don't play Georgia. That'd put me in a real bind. But anyhow, I did have this one joke, and it's definitely not a dirty joke, but it's a funny joke. And this guy decided he was going to maybe go out with this other woman, and he finally did it. And she said to him, "I'm going to do things to you that your wife wouldn't do." And he said, "Can you make biscuits and gravy?"
It is a lost art indeed.
Hey, I'm glad everybody can laugh at me, but I just think that's pretty damn funny right there.
I'll do something for you your wife will never do. You're going to make biscuits and gravy? Hell yeah.
All right, sports fans.
And on that note, we will see you folks next week. Y'all take care. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about Jackson Cantwell a little bit next week. Y'all take care.